Well, peace, friends. I'm Pastor Tom Arthur from Sycamore Creek Church in Lansing, Michigan. I'm here today with my co-host, Pastor Sean Holland.
Hey, it's great to be here today.
You've brought the epicenter of worship.
Yep, we have the whole family here from
Washington and Jolly to the center of worship in the whole world right now. Is right here.
We are the Israel of Lansing.
That's probably why the internet wasn't working. We broke the internet because we moved the epicenter.
You know, that's what happens when you get so much power coming together.
It's good. It's good. We're so glad to be with Sean, Epicenter Worship. We welcome you to joining us today. Normally, Sean, when we, on these MLK weeks, we come down, a couple of years have come down to Epicenter as a church.
Absolutely.
And we haven't, we've just been participants. We've sat under your leadership, the leadership of your team. But every year, people ask me, when are we coming to Sycamore Creek?
Yeah.
And I say, our building's not big enough to hold everybody. Except now that we're doing this virtual, like the virtual world is like an infinite size of space.
Absolutely. So we're just excited to be here. We got our family on Facebook and YouTube, and so we're going to have a great time. We're going to have some interactive questions, and so thank you for hosting, and thank you for being in this with us.
Yeah. So we're curious. By the way, we got special guest James Garden in the house today. He's a local Lansing rapper, and he's going to be bringing some dope rhymes and
he's going to be dropping the heat.
Beats with us today. But while he's doing this first song, we want to know, how did you celebrate MLK Day or week this week? So here we go. Here's James.
This is usually when the Garfield float comes in and the kids get happy. You can't rain on my parade. No, you can't, son, keep kissing on my face. Who told you I was afraid? Mess around and catch a fade. Knuckle sandwich to the squares. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on. It's the road to help make us. And I heard that some potholes are getting paved up. Prom waves when I see all of my haters, cause I know they still love us. Was the budget set so they still gotta pay up. I remember no commas all in my pay stub. And we hit the thrift so our fits will have a little flavor. Somehow when I lost, yo, you never changed up. Not the type to get a big head from the praise, but you can't rain on my parade. No, you can't, son, keep kissing on my face. Who told you I was afraid? Listen, I ain't never scared. Mess around and catch a fade. Knuckle sandwich to the squares. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on. See a loser hate to see a winner smile. I remember when my pockets had a little different style. Oh, it's new, I would be great. They gon' tell you to wait. But my best advice is that you better go and get it now. I love the way you shine and the way you share your light. And your sight said high, they wanna impair your flight. Somehow when I lost you, you never changed up. When they try to go and tear you down, you better tell them you can't rain on my parade. No, you can't, son, keep kissing on my face. Who told you I was afraid? Listen, I ain't never scared. Mess around and catch a fade. Knuckle sandwich to the squares. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on. So look, I don't know if you've ever seen Sister Act 2, but there's a scene where the young man is singing a solo. He's really nervous, and Whoopi Goldberg has to encourage him. And that's what I want to do for you. When people try to make you dim your light, you need to stand tall, shoulders back, and tell them, you can't rain on my. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my parade. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on my. You can't rain on. Don't let them rain on your parade. Now, this is the part where the Snoopy float comes in. And everyone gets really excited because everyone loves Snoopy. It's just a fact. Don't argue with me. Just accept it.
Give it up for the world's most encouraging rapper, James Garden.
Absolutely.
Shout out to him on Facebook. Thanks for sharing that with us, James. By the way, this was really interesting, James. Somebody in our church, Megan McElwee, said that her first husband or her ex-husband helped record some of your original or early stuff.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Work. Yeah, I used to record a lot of stuff.
There we go. We got a connection. We didn't even know.
It's a small world.
Yeah. So we've been celebrating MLK this week at Sycamore Creek. We did Pray on MLK on Monday, and then this weekend, 15 of us from Sycamore Creek were doing an Understanding Racism workshop with Congregations Organizing for Racial Reconciliation. There they all are. That's them holding their hand up, agreeing to the covenant of
That's
the weekend.
awesome. Yeah.
So, I don't know. You had like a jam-packed week.
Yes.
You're involved in so much.
Yeah, so, we started off on Tuesday with the National Day of Healing, and we honored hometown oracles. Dr. Bob Green and Dr. Maxine. We've had such a great conversation, and we wanted to know what was Lansing like back in the 60s and the 50s. And Dr. Green told a story about how he was with Dr. King, and a guy came up and put a gun right to his head. And he said that Dr. King looked at the man and said, "I love you."
Wow.
And it just totally stunned the guy, and he holstered the gun. And so he told these stories, and it was just absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I mean, that was huge. And we featured, local artists. So that's one way we celebrated MLK.
I think most people are familiar with Martin Luther King Day, but National Day of Racial Healing, at least a lot of white people, maybe not even heard of that yet.
Yeah.
So it's the day right after. It's the Tuesday right after MLK Day.
Every year.
Every year. Yeah. And usually I've gone to the event the last couple of years when it's been pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I assume it was a virtual event this year.
It was a virtual event, and you can't reconcile unless healing is a part of that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's critical in the celebration.
That's part of TRHT.
Yeah, Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation.
Which you're on staff there now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's your role there?
I am a co-lead of the TRHT for Metro Lansing. So, obviously that's looking at narrative change. That's looking at how do we heal. We have what we call healing circles. Looking at law, discriminatory, practices and policies around policing and prosecution, economy and education, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you dismantle racism in the city?
And that's like a lot bigger work than just a day out of the year or a week out of the year or African American History Month.
Absolutely.
It's a 365-day-a-year celebration. So, James, how did you celebrate MLK Day or MLK Week?
I think I was probably spending all day lesson planning with All the Above Hip Hop Academy. So, like, just working on, like, how we want to teach the youth. And just using, like, hip-hop culture to engage in community, but then also to create really great art.
I'm a huge fan of All the Above, and our church was able to give a year-end gift to TA. We were very excited to do that and support everything that y'all are doing. Tiffany, how did you celebrate MLK Week?
Well, I did it a little bit differently. Normally, like our business, Dancing with the Nordays, will hold a class, but this time, because we're spending so much time at home, I just spent it with my girls reading them MLK books, and so they liked that, having that moment with their mom and reading some stories. So I kind of took an easier, laid-back approach this year.
It's It's always good to get some laid-back rest and connect with your family.
Yeah.
So we'd love for you to keep answering that question in the comments, but we also would love to connect with you right now. Like, share, and subscribe. This is a really simple way to share what's happening this morning and to get the good news out about Jesus at work in our churches and in our community. We'd also love for you to connect with us, connect with something bigger than yourself. Fill out our digital connection card, sycamore-creekchurch.org/connect. If you've got prayers that you need, you've got a team of people who are praying for you, you can send those in, prayers@sycamorecreekchurch.org. Also, if you are a first-time guest to fill out that connection card, we will send you a free book right from Amazon. You'll Get Through This. It's by Max Lucado, and that's a story or some good news that we all need, that we will get through this. So fill that connection card out. We'll send you that right away. As well, we would love for you to take a selfie wherever you're at right now and tag it SCCMI. This past week on Pray on MLK, we were doing this. I love these, like the way Pray on MLK has us put these words of prayer over our mouths.
Yeah.
And normally we're kind of standing on MLK as a sort of prophetic witness. But you can keep doing that. You don't have to, just because Pray on MLK was done, you can continue to do those selfies and put that tape across your mask and tag it SCCMI or Pray on MLK. Here's Bonnie and Mark Raymond. I love like how they sort of did this together.
Yeah, only love.
Only love.
Or love only.
Love only.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could switch it back and forth.
Yeah.
So they're our selfie of the week. Thank you, Mark and Bonnie. Mark and Bonnie, by the way, as well, were at the Understanding Racism retreat this week. So Friday and Saturday. I love it when couples do it together. That's really cool. I've done it with my wife several times. You and Tayana did it a couple times ago. So it's really powerful when a married couple is on this mission and work together, supporting each other.
Yeah, the perspective, you go through it, you go through a workshop, and then later you talk about it, and it's like, oh, that's what you saw that out of it, and so it's good to bounce those ideas and those perspectives off of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we are continuing in a series called You're Not Far. We are spending 8 weeks going deep into the book of Mark. And today we're talking about what does it take to be great, which I think is a great topic for this week.
Yeah.
So let's watch and see. Have you ever been so close to something, but so far away? About a month ago, I lost my reading glasses. Now, I can see without my glasses. It's just that everything is a little bit blurry. It's just kind of frustrating to look at your computer or try to read. So I tore my house apart. I looked underneath my desk. I looked underneath my bed. I looked underneath the couch. I looked in the cushions in between my couch. I looked in my drawers in my bedroom. I looked in the drawers in my desk. I looked in the cabinets. I looked in the bathroom, in the cabinets in the bathroom, in the drawers in the bathroom. I went out into our kitchen and our living room. I looked in the cabinets in the kitchen and the drawers in the kitchen. I looked in the wardrobe in my living room, my wardrobe desk. I looked where I keep the keyboard. I looked where I keep the computer. I tore the house apart. I probably spent 2 hours looking for my glasses. Now, my wife and my kids were away that week, and so I didn't even have them to blame for misplacing my glasses. It was so frustrating. Where were my glasses? About a week or two ago, I was on vacation, and I went to my wardrobe desk where I keep a box of cables. I was looking for some kind of cable. I don't even remember what kind of cable it was. I was just looking for a cable, and I opened up that box, and there were my glasses. Well, you know what? I've got some new glasses, and I've got my old glasses. What do you think? Do you like them? They're red. Well, peace, friends. I'm Pastor Tom Arthur, the pastor at Sycamore Creek Church in Lansing, Michigan. And today we are in week 5 of a series called You're Not Far. It's a story that should have died in Rome. Yeah, that's me. That's a Roman centurion. But it didn't. It should have died in Nero's Rome. Oh, wait, not that Neo. Nero's Rome. You see, it was in a prison, like this prison. In fact, when I was in Rome several years ago, I took this picture. It's a picture where Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, is said to have died. And the story that we're telling today is Peter's retelling of his remembrance of following Jesus, as told to his close friend, John Mark, who brought us the book of Mark, the Gospel of Mark. Now, we got to remember that the Bible wasn't being written at that moment. Mark wasn't trying to write the Bible. He was just sitting in a jail cell with Peter saying, listen, tell me, Peter, about your experiences with Jesus. So the book of Mark is Peter's remembrance, perhaps at the end of his life while he sits in jail, that ends up today for us as the Gospel of Mark. Peter gives us the whole point of his book right up front. He's sitting there in the jail cell and he tells Mark this. He says, the time has come. The kingdom of God has come near. Repent and believe the good news. Face and embrace God, is what Peter's saying. You are not far. God is near. As close as the box at your feet at your desk. Have you ever lost something that was so near, but you just couldn't find it? How'd you end up finding it? Or maybe you never did. Let's talk about that. Man, ever since I got 2 pairs of glasses, I pick one up and put it on, and then I set the other one down. What in the world? I set it down in a box.
How?
I don't even know.
What were you thinking? When I was watching that video, I was like, why would you put your glasses in a box?
I have no idea.
Maybe you got healed all of a sudden.
I needed some sort of healing.
Jesus, I'm healed.
Do you lose stuff?
All the time. All the time. You know, it's going to sound really crazy, but it is what it is. I was talking on the phone one time and I got frantic. And I was telling the person, I can't find my phone. And so I was like, I got to go because I'm looking for my phone. Where is my phone? And they were like, are you talking to me right now on your phone? I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I thought you were going to say like you had your Bluetooth on or something that was in your backpack, but you were actually holding it up to your face.
The whole phone. Like, I'm like, where is my phone? Where is it? I just had it, and it was in my hand.
That's like one of those moments where you got your glasses on your
Absolutely,
head, and you're like, where are my glasses at?
I felt like a total idiot.
Yeah.
It's okay. I've done it before, too.
Have you? Okay,
Yeah,
I feel
really
better.
have.
So we're in a special club of 2.
That's right. You're not alone.
Tiffany, you lose stuff?
I just want to say I'm so glad he said his phone because all the Epicenter knows that he always misplaces that phone. He's always asking somebody, where's my phone at?
Every service for 20 years.
You need one of those like keychain like things.
Oh, I hate that.
Like your phone is on.
That's like a leash. No.
But anyways, I've lost Piper in my own house.
Oh, your daughter?
Yeah, the little one. Number 3.
Those kids are sneaky.
We've all done it. Plenty of you guys have seen her picture. She's a little itty bitty, and she's quiet on purpose.
Oh no.
She's not quiet in real life, but I lost her. David lost her yesterday, and she was underneath our chair in the living room. So we're like walking around the house, like, where's Piper? We're upstairs, downstairs, in the kitchen, and she's just under the chair, just chilling.
My kids have this thing where they in the morning like to try to sneak out and pretend they're like a leopard or a cheetah and stalk me And sometimes I don't actually see them, and then they jump out, and I am startled. But most of the time, I'm pretending that I don't see them.
Yeah.
And like I'll catch them, and then I'll look the other way because they love like that whole cat and mouse game.
My kids just run from me. I don't, it's totally different.
Yeah. Hey, James, real quick, what do you lose?
So I have one of the new MacBook Pros, and you have to have an adapter to use the USB. And I have lost at least 5 or 6 of those adapters.
Yeah,
It's not a fun thing to lose a lot of
I know
times.
that hurts.
From the USB-C to the USB-B.
Yeah.
Because they're the teeny little adapters.
And
Easily get lost.
if it's unplugged, I don't know where I put it, and it's gone forever.
Apple likes to do that to us. Like, you got to have like little attachments to adapt everything.
The dongles too, I lose those all the time as
Yeah.
well for the headphone.
All right. Well, hey, let's see if we can find some sort of better meaning out of this message. We've all had those experiences of losing something that was just so close, and eventually we find it and we're like, how did we ever lose that? Well, today what I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about 4 words that Jesus gives to us. For all of us who are in a leadership position, you might think of yourself as a leader in the marketplace, or a leader in your work or your business. You lead somebody. You lead somebody in your home. You lead at your school. You lead a small group. There's somebody who is following you. And if you're a leader of any kind today, there's 4 words that Jesus has for you. Now, we're going to get to those 4 words in a moment, but those 4 words, they stop me in my tracks every single time. In fact, I'll tell you what, they really convict me quite often. And when I don't pay attention to them, I lose a little bit of my soul, and I lose a bit of respect of the people around me. But when I follow them, they give me life. Right now, we are in what we like to call a Bible series. Now, you got to remember, Mark wasn't trying to write the Bible. Mark was just trying to keep track of Peter's experiences of Jesus. But we're in a series where we're taking a deep dive into one book of the Bible. And that book of the Bible is the Gospel of Mark. We're spending 8 weeks going really deep into Mark's gospel. Last week in our series, You're Not Far, we took a look at how Jesus got really upset at the religious leaders of the day who elevated their own traditions above the traditions of God, above the commandments of God.
These 10 commandments.
He calls them hypocrites, and then he sends them packing. And after that, he takes his followers up to Caesarea Philippi, where he has a conversation with them. Jesus asks his disciples who they say he is, and they say that he's the Messiah. And Jesus accepts that title, that designation. And then he sets his face southward, and he starts to head to Jerusalem, the big city. That's Jerusalem as it is today. It's not like that back in Jesus' day, but you get the point. He reminds them of what they can expect when they get to the big city after all. He then begins to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and after 3 days rise again. This was so confusing to them. You see, they had just said that Jesus was the Messiah, and Jesus had said, yeah, I'll take that. I'm the Messiah. And here Jesus is talking about dying. Can the Messiah die? Can the anointed one die? They are so confused. I mean, do bad things happen to good people? Jesus is the goodest person that they've ever met. He's not just the goodest person, he's the goddest person. So they turn to Peter. They say, Peter, you gotta fix this with Jesus. So Peter takes Jesus aside and he begins to rebuke him. Jesus, you're scaring the children with this talk. You got to stop talking like this. But when Jesus turned and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter. It's like a rebuking contest going on here. He says, Satan, get behind me. Try that with your closest friend or your wife. It's not going to go over very well. Jesus says, you don't have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. You want a kingdom like all the other kingdoms, but I'm not that kind of a king. That's not my kingdom. And to emphasize the point, he calls the crowd to him and with his disciples, and he says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. It's as if Jesus is saying, listen, from now on, it's going to cost you something to follow me. Now, for the disciples, that was absolutely literal. Like, they had to leave their nets and their boats to follow Jesus, to go south to Jerusalem, although it might be very literal for us as well. An extraordinary invitation was disguised in this ominous declaration. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. Everybody dies, no matter how well you take care of yourself. Everybody's life is going to end at some point. But if you live for yourself, at the end of your life, the only thing that you'll have to show is yourself. So here's the invitation that Jesus puts to his disciples. Whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. He was inviting them to live their life on purpose. They had a decision to make. They could stay up in Galilee and they could go on fishing just like they do every single day, mending their nets and hauling in the fish. Or they could decide to follow Jesus, to take that adventure and see where it leads, to live on purpose. Everybody ends up somewhere in life. The intentional ones end up somewhere on purpose. We have a decision to make as well. Will we be consumed with preserving our lives, which ultimately we can't do no matter how well we take good care of ourselves? Will we say yes to our fear? Fear always invites us to follow the path of self-preservation. If you give in to the fear long enough, you'll neither preserve your life nor have anything to show at the end of it. Or here's the other part of the decision, the other option. Will you follow Jesus? Will we ask that disturbing question? What does love require of me right now? Peter's sitting in a jail cell and he's telling this whole story to John Mark, and he has to have been thinking back on that day and thinking about, this is the place where fear started to grip my heart, where I had to make a decision. Do I follow Jesus, or do I stay in Galilee, live as a fisherman, and die as a fisherman? We each have that same decision too. Every single day we have that decision. Right now, in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of COVID, post a failed violent insurrection at our Capitol, we have the decision to make. What kind of story are we going to tell? What story will Peter tell? Will it be the story of staying in Galilee and becoming a fisherman, or staying a fisherman? Or will it be the story of following Jesus? Let's live our lives in a way during COVID, during this post-insurrection, in a way that we live a story worth telling. We're writing that story every single day. In every little and big decision that we make, the choices we make will determine the stories that we tell. As easy as it would be to retreat into fear, that decision means that at the end of our lives, we won't even preserve our own life. We'd lose the opportunity to do something extraordinary with this life we've been given. So Peter and the rest of the disciples, they make a decision to follow Jesus south to Jerusalem. John Mark tells us that they left that place and passed through Galilee. They were on their way up to Jerusalem with Jesus leading the way. Now, the Bible always talks about going up to Jerusalem, even though on the map you're going south to Jerusalem. That's because Jerusalem is a higher elevation. You're coming up out of the valley, up to Jerusalem. Now, notice that it says that Jesus was leading the way. He's leading the way uphill. Reminds me of that Onion article where a dad spends the entire vacation 6 feet ahead of his family. That's me. Give me a shout out in the comments if that's you too, whether you're a dad or a mom. This is so confusing to the disciples because here it is that, Jesus is leading the way to this grisly prediction or prophecy that he's just made about what's going to happen to him in Jerusalem. So again, Jesus takes the 12 aside and he tells them what is going to happen to him. We are going to Jerusalem, he said, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock him and spit on him, flog him and kill him. And then Jesus turns and heads south. So James and John finally catch up to Jesus. Remember, he was leading the way. He was up there, keeping a good pace, I'm sure, heading up to Jerusalem. And I kind of imagine them sort of looking over their shoulder, making sure that they're out of earshot of the other 10 disciples. And then they get real close up to Jesus and they whisper, Jesus, there's something that we want you to do for us. Jesus backs up and says, well, what is it that you want me to do for you? And they say, you know what, Jesus, it's really bad about all that flogging and spitting and dying and crucifying stuff. But when you come into your kingdom, we want to sit on your right and the other one on your left when you come in your glory. We'll just hold back during all that spitting and flogging. When have you been in a situation where you sought your own benefit rather than the benefit of those around you? Let's talk about that. All right, it's confession time. By the way, if you've got something you want to confess that you don't want to say out loud, you can anonymously text it to us at 507-788-3642.
So I'm going to start texting right now. That was super convicting. You know, when you really sit back and think about how often that happens, you know, I was thinking about myself, right? And you know, one of my life's challenges is just finding balance from season to season, right? You got all these balls you're trying to juggle. And so there have been times when I've tried to create an environment that helps me, but it puts other people in precarious positions, right? You know, especially as a pastor, you know, you're like, oh, I got all this stuff going on. And so let's put you here, you here, you here. But when you really sit back and think about it, it was really to make me feel better and have, you know, personal balance, right? And so I was really convicted of, you know, through that portion of your, you know, snow sermon that, you know, you're the first guy I've ever seen preach in the snow.
I preach from everywhere, Sean.
I see.
The world is my parish, as John Wesley once said. You know, I think about this every time my wife and I have a family business meeting once a month. We sit down for about an hour, sometimes it goes 2 hours, and we go through all the family business, money, like how did money get spent, where's money at, like all that stuff. What's our budget? Like, is our budget working? Does it need to like change? I'll tell you what, it's really hard not to like hang on to like your little parts of the budget.
Yeah.
Like this benefits me. And of course you can multiply that out like to the church, right? Like everybody in the church, like, and you as the pastor, you want to hang on to your little part of the budget.
It's going to help everybody.
Like, this is the important part, you know? But I'll be like, but I got to have enough money to go out to eat with Sean, and
that's legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, and but I got to do it with Dave and James as well, and every, you know.
Yeah, but Sean is number one priority. Yeah. Sarah, if you're listening, please add him in the budget. Add me in the budget.
There we go, folks. That's it right there. Working for your own benefit. James, how about you?
What I think about is like even just growing up in church, I think a lot of times as a youth, a lot of service I did was sort of more people pleasing and like being able to be celebrated and everyone be like, oh yeah, James is such a good kid. And as I get older, I'm like, I wasn't doing that for God. Like I was doing that because I enjoyed adults looking at me and being proud of me. So it was for my own benefit.
Man, talk about cutting to like the heart of the matter right there.
Yeah.
Soul. Which the crazy thing about that, James, is like externally what's good looks the same, but the internal is the part that's rotten in that moment.
Yeah.
Because obviously we want you to keep serving.
But I have to serve with the right intention.
Yeah, the right intention. Yeah. Man, that's good.
That's good.
All right, well, hey, let's get back to the sermon in the snow. You don't know what you're asking for, Jesus tells him. You still don't get it. You still don't get it. So a few verses later, when the other 10 hear about this, they are indignant. Probably because they're thinking about like the same thing. We want the benefits. In fact, they get into an argument about who is the greatest. Jesus has already covered this with them once before, but he does it again. Jesus is sort of patient with our lack of understanding. So Jesus calls them together one more time and he says, sit down, guys. Let's talk about this before we get to Jerusalem, just to make sure that we know why we're going there. You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles, they lord it over them. You know how they rule mercilessly. You know how they rule for their own benefit. And their high officials, Jesus says, exercise authority over them. If I were to put this into my own words, I'd say something like this. You know how those in positions of authority leverage their authority for their own benefit. You know how those who have resources and influence leverage their resources and influence to gain even more resources and influence for themselves. The disciples likely thought, yeah, we do. That's why we're asking to sit on your right hand and on your left. And because we'd like to be your number 2 and your number 3 for those sweet benefits in the kingdom. Jesus looks at them and looks at me and looks at you. And he says these 4 words that stop us in our tracks. 4 words that if you're a leader in any place in your life, in the community, in the church, in your family, in your school, they make you a leader worth following. Jesus says, not so with you. Not so with you. That's not how my administration is going to work. That's not the kind of king I'm going to be. That's not the kind of kingdom I'm trying to build. I've come to reverse the order of things. Instead, whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant. And before they catch their breath, and whoever wants to be first among you must be servant of all. Before they can object, he stares south towards Jerusalem, and he takes their excuses away, and your and my excuses as well. And he says, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. Any questions? James? John? Any questions, gentlemen? All right, let's go to Jerusalem. Now, they had to be totally confused. What is Jesus talking about? Giving his life as a ransom? Dying? Being a servant? Being the least of all? This is not what I signed up for. They're thinking, maybe we should have stayed back in Galilee. I wonder if you've ever worked for somebody who did this kind of thing that Jesus is talking about. That they used their benefit, their power, their resources, their influence to benefit you. Have you ever worked for somebody like that? Let's talk about it.
We're back, Tom.
We are.
Another convicting portion of your message. I was thinking about my pastor. He was invited to speak at this international conference. And he said he was praying, and the Lord spoke to him and said it wasn't his gig. This is Sean's opportunity.
Wow.
And the organizers of this international, conference didn't even know me. They didn't even know I existed. So he reached out to the organizers and said, hey, I got a guy that I think he's the one that you really want. And he talked to them, and through his influence, I landed on an international stage.
Wow.
And after that conference, my entire ministry went through the roof. Mm-hmm. And it was just one person that just believed in me. And that was probably about 10 years ago.
That story reminds me, I lead a team in Michigan at the United Methodist Church called the Reach Movement Team, trying to grow and multiply churches. We do a big conference every year, and we try to get like a big name in that'll draw people in. And we were talking about that one year, and one of the young women pastors on my team said, you know, we were talking about different women and that might be speakers, but none of them had that big recognition.
Yeah.
And she just spoke prophetically to us and said, it's because they're never given chances like this to be on a stage to get the platform.
Absolutely.
And ever since then, we've started like not using that framework that like it has to be a big name, like that we're a platform to help people know somebody who someday they're going to say, I heard him back when.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiffany, you got two people you worked for in the room, so what's your answer?
I know.
Oh, Lord.
Talk about working for your own benefit.
This is quite interesting for me right now. My boss and my boss are both in the room. But actually, so forgive me, fellas. I have a different example other than you guys. You guys are great, though. The time that was most influential to me was back in 2009 with Pastor Carla Eyes, which, okay, you can get some credit because you brought her to the church about missions. And so he knows my bug to fly. I jumped on it. I was probably the first person to sign up to go to Uganda. And there, she leveraged her relationships and friendships. I didn't go there to speak, but she put me up for a women's conference. I spoke during a session, and then I preached 2 times while I was there at a church in a village. And that was not on my radar, but she saw something in me, and she kind of just woke that gift up in me when I was in Uganda. So I appreciate her for that.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
That's powerful.
Yeah. James, did somebody leverage benefit for you getting into rapping and AOTA and so on?
I would say yes, definitely. The first person that's coming to mind right now is Dr. Jean Gazelle, who's a professor at MSU. So she runs a student group, and I was not a student at MSU, but they brought me on staff. And still not being a student at MSU, she sent me to South Africa for 3 months, and that was the first time I did a music program where I designed it myself. So that was like when I first caught the bug of wanting to do that.
Wow. That's awesome. It's really exciting to hear people experience that leader who influences them or benefits them. I'm actually here at Sycamore Creek as the pastor because of 2 people. One was Pastor Brad Kalajanan at Cornerstone United Methodist Church. It's the largest United Methodist church in Michigan. And he was keeping track of me through seminary.
Wow.
And knew that Barb, the founding pastor, was retiring, and recognized that those were happening at the same moment.
That's
and
powerful.
He's the one who introduced me. And then Barb drove down to meet me. And then in United Methodism, the bishop still has to appoint you. But Brad and Barb put my name in as somebody to pay attention to for this job, for this pastor.
Yeah.
It was really cool. All right, well, hey, let's get back to Rio Town. It's pretty amazing when somebody that has influence over you uses their influence to benefit you, isn't it? Well, remember, Peter's sitting in a jail. He's talking to John Mark. In some ways, he's using his own influence, even though he's in jail, to benefit you and me. And so Peter continues the story, telling John Mark. Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of God, Son of David, have mercy on me." And many rebuked him and told him, "Be quiet." After all, Jesus is an important rabbi. He is on his way to his most important appointment. But he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Now, Peter's sitting in prison, and he's talking to John Mark, and he's probably says to John Mark, "Listen, we couldn't believe that this guy was making all this noise." And then what Jesus did next. You know, Jesus had just told us, like, he's leading the way uphill. We're all trying to keep up with him. And he does something that is totally unexpected to us. Jesus stopped. He stopped. Can you believe that? He just told us how important it is for him to get to Jerusalem, to be spit and flogged and mobbed. And here's this blind guy, and he stops for him. It's as if Jesus is trying to illustrate this "not so with you" message that he's just told his disciples. This is so convicting to me. I'm busy. Are you busy? You know, this COVID thing, even though we're working at home, even though so many things have stopped, it feels like I'm busier than I've ever been. I'm busy, and yet Jesus stops. Sometimes following requires stopping. Where do you need to stop right now in order to follow Jesus? So Jesus stopped and said, call him. So they did. And throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and he came to Jesus. And then we read one of those lines that, you know, it seems like nobody would make this up because it's so obvious. It's even just a little embarrassing what Jesus asks him here. He says, what do you want me to do for you? I think in that moment, he looks back at James and John, maybe gives them a little wink. And he says to him, do you want to sit on my left or do you want to sit on my right? And Bartimaeus says, I want to see. Now that's a great thing to ask for. I pray this every day. Heavenly Father, help me to see the way that you see. Help me to see the world the way you see it. Help me to see what I have in my hands the way that you see what I have in my hands. Help me to see what your kingdom, your invisible kingdom, looks like right now. So go, Jesus says. Your faith has healed you. And immediately he received his sight and he followed Jesus along the road to Jerusalem, a date with destiny. All right, we're going to pick up the story next week right there where we left off, but I want to go back to those 4 words just for a minute. Not so with you. What would it look like in your area of the world and in the world in general? What would it look like in your family, in your workplace, in your school, in your home, if you followed that kind of leadership, that not so with you kind of leadership? If you leveraged your power and your resources for the benefit of those with less power and fewer resources. This is another application of the law of Christ to love as we've been loved. And it starts with a simple question that Jesus asked Bartimaeus. What can I do to help? How can I loan you my strength? How can I throw my weight behind your situation? What does support look like for you right now? When you leverage your power and your resources for those who have less power and less resources, you're doing the work of God, the kingdom of God. You're following Jesus in his kind of kingdom. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. When you lead from that posture, you're a leader worth following. So here's a question for all of us today. What's one thing you can do this week to demonstrate that not so with you leadership at your work, in your home, in your school, wherever you find yourself? Let's talk about that. When I think about this question, Sean, and at least one answer to it, I think, we were just in this Congregations Organizing for Racial Reconciliation, Understanding Racism workshop this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think there's a temptation for white people right now, and maybe even my predominantly white church, to feel like we can pat ourselves on the back right now, like, look at this, Epicenter's here, Pastor Sean's with us, and say, we have accomplished racial reconciliation. But we're like, that would be a serious mistake. That would be trying to do anti-racist work in a racist way.
Absolutely.
Because anti-racist work means using whatever we've got for the benefit of others. And while this joint worship service, this you being here with us today and Epicenter being with us is, I think the goal of that is to orient our heart together, particularly us, Sycamore Creek.
Yeah.
But it's got to ultimately end up in advocating for things that benefit the Black community physically, financially, relationally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. And I've found that I've had to sort of get over myself, and some of my whiteness is being afraid of looking political when something isn't about being political, it's about right or wrong.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've been participating more and more in the Poor People's Campaign, along with many people in our church. And I think about the residents at the senior housing downtown.
Yeah, and the deplorable conditions.
The bed bugs, the rodents. I mean, it's just wretched. And so, not so with you leadership. By the way, not so with you, Sycamore Creek. Well, we just think that we have accomplished racial reconciliation by doing this service with Epicenter. Like, not so with you, Sycamore Creek. Let's use whatever we got in our hands to advocate for the well-being of all people, but especially the Black community. I think that's some of what this partnership or this relationship has meant with Epicenter.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I was thinking about was, there's some fundamental questions that you ask when you enter a room, right? That not so with you. When you enter a room, is your thought, who sees me or who do I see?
Yeah.
And so oftentimes we enter to be seen, right? And how many people enter in with the intention of, who can I see? And I think that's very difficult oftentimes when you've gone through trauma, you've gone through injustice, right? It's very challenging to ask, who do I still see? And so, I think everyone has to sit down and do a privilege assessment. And I was recently in the mall with my daughter, and before COVID, recently, like pre-COVID, but I was just with her, and now that she's older, I never really thought about what it felt like to be a woman. Like, she's beautiful, and I watch guys watch her, and we'd walk by and they would do like that. And I finally just, after being with her, how does this make you feel? Because on my side, I don't have to deal with that, right? And so I think it's all about, who do you see? And knowing that in every position, we all have some privilege. Mm-hmm. And there's someone that we can protect. And so that just opened up my heart to just a whole nother world that I was totally oblivious to.
Well, and that's Bartimaeus' request, right?
Yeah.
Help me see.
Yeah.
Who do you see? Tiffany's leaning in like she's got something.
Oh, I got something to
You
say.
got something. Bring it. I see you over
She got
there.
the best shot in the house, too.
But while you guys were talking, I can't help but think about the book that I'm about to drop this winter, because I just sent it to the editors on Friday. So,
All right.
but what I'm most excited about, I got 6 women's testimonies in my book. That was something my writing coach had tossed to me, and I jumped on it, and I got 6 replies in like 30 minutes. And so I gave these women a list of questions, because I really think this is how I'm leveraging just my experience. I had to get over myself in a different way, that I felt like a lot of times we feel little, and like, God can't use me. I really don't have the expertise, but something my writing group we've helped each other to see the power in us, and that someone needs to hear our story, someone needs to hear our experience. And I'm giving space for 6 women's story to be expounded upon in my book, and I'm excited for people to read it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think that actually is a great lead-in to the song James is going to do right now, because sometimes for us to give, benefit to others, it starts first with recognizing you've got something yourself of benefit that you started
right.
loving you. So here's the world's most encouraging rapper.
Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. It's love. I used to believe I wasn't worth it, that the life God gave me wasn't perfect, and the tools I had to work with had me set up to fail before my first step. Never spoke loud in crowds. I was conditioned to think it was rude to be loud and proud, till I drowned in sounds of negative speech, until I heard a small voice in me speak. It said, I got all the love you want, but you continue to sleep. I got all these shiny things and the emptiness they bring. When will this all cycle in? Baby, what you want from me? I found love you can't believe. Now I finally feel free. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I used to feel so incomplete. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I love what's inside of me. Love, 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 love. Oh, love, 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 love. Yeah, love, 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 love. Oh, love, 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 love. Man, it feels good to love the skin I'm in. Me and pure joy just became a synonym. Me and me, well, we just became friends again. I'm in a real good mood. Care less about a hater, my mood don't depend on them. My flaws just make me one of a kind. Then a voice came talking and it hit my line and said everything will be just fine. Cause I got all the love you want, but you continue to sleep. I got all these shiny things and the emptiness they bring. When will this all cycle in? Baby, what you want from me? I found love you can't believe. Now I finally feel free. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I used to feel so incomplete. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I just started loving me. I love what's inside of me. Love, 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 love. Oh, love, 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 love. Yeah, love, 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 love. Oh, love, 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 love. I love you all.
Woo! Give it up for James Garden.
Amazing.
That is awesome. Thank you, James, for sharing that with us. We got one more song from James here in just a minute. Somebody was just texting me about what's this Poor People's Campaign, and I want to give a shout out to Sarah Lepley. Sarah is part of the leadership of the local Lansing Metropolitan Poor People's Campaign. So, Sarah, I know you're out there. You're in the comments. Put that link for the Poor People's Campaign in there, and maybe somebody jump over on YouTube and put that in the link as well, because that's something worth checking out. We would love to connect with you a little bit deeper this week, and here's how you can do it.
You're not far, and maybe you're taking one step closer to God today. One way to get a little closer is to fill out our connection card and connect with us at Sycamore Creek by going to sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect. If you're a first-time guest, when you fill out that connection card, you'll get a free book, You'll Get Through This by Max Lucado. Here it is, friends, the best way to connect at Sycamore Creek. You need a small group. Head to sycamorecreekchurch.org/small groups to access our group link online. Grow in your faith with others by joining the Experiencing God study led by Pastor Mark. Or connect and serve with others with the Too Busy Not to Pray group and a flexible time. I know we all need that right now. With so many groups to choose from to connect, grow, and serve together, you'll find something for you at sycamorecreekchurch.com/small groups. We're working on an online production in 4 episodes of Letter from Birmingham Jail, directed by Rico Bruce Wade. Local award-winning professional actor Rico Bruce Wade will direct the production of Letter from Birmingham Jail. Watch Letter from Birmingham Jail Saturdays in March in 3 episodes at 7 p.m. and watch the whole thing on that 4th Saturday. Connect with us using Sycamore Creek's app. You can give through the app, listen to sermons online, and read your Bible, all right from your phone. Simply type in SCCMI on your app store on any mobile device to find us on the app. Not interested in the app but still want to give online? Head to sycamorecreekchurch.org/give and you'll have options there too. This past week, we joined with congregations organizing for racial reconciliation and organized for racial reconciliation. Your faithful and continued giving allows us to come together to learn and grow through congregations organizing for racial reconciliation. Let's take it back to the studio and continue the celebration. Peace.
Guess what we were organizing for this weekend? Racial reconciliation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so hey, thank you so much for your giving. It helps us do things like Pray on MLK and the core workshop, Understanding Racism Better. I've had some questions about where people can find James' music. Like, James, you want to answer that? Where can people find your music at?
Yeah, my music is on all streaming platforms. You know, your YouTube, Amazon,
What's your last
Spotify.
name? They're asking your last name.
Oh, Garden, Gardin. So maybe it's pronounced Gardine, but you know Americans. We but yeah, James Garden.
Jardine.
Gardine. James. I'm gonna be calling you James Gardine from now on.
It sounds fancy.
It's awesome. Well, hey, this whole COVID thing has kind of gotten us a little bit lazy some places, and other places more disciplined. So we would love to hear from you. Where are you most and least disciplined during COVID? Well, James brings us some more rhymes and beats.
Comfortable in my own skin. I like who I am. The good vibes keep on jumping. Turn it up, that's my jam. I feel good. How you feeling? I feel good. So good. It feels good now. Make sure you jam it in the hood loud. When you roll slow in the lane with a whip with no stains, get a taste with the fame light. Aiming with my big homie solo. Standing still ain't better than slow-mo. Favorite rain fairy, live a blessed life. Talking all that trash on the best out, what they wanna say now. Hate if you wanna hate, but y'all can't kill my vibe. And I be feeling so good, just happy to be alive. I said, hate if you wanna hate, but y'all can't kill my vibe. And I be feeling so good, just happy to be alive. Cause we in my own skin, I like who I am. The good vibes keep on pumping. Turn it up, that's my jam. I feel good. How you feeling? I feel good. So good. Comfortable in my own skin. I like who I am. The good vibes keep on pumping. So turn it up, that's my jam. I feel good. How you feeling? I feel good. So good. See, listen here, baby. What you gotta realize is God doesn't make mistakes, He makes grades. So fully understand you gotta see yourself the way He sees you, which is a perfect masterpiece that He sculpted with no imperfection because He did it all on purpose. And if people can't accept that, you gotta look them in the eye and tell them, hate if you wanna hate, but y'all can't kill my vibe. And I be feeling so good, just happy to be alive. I said, hate if you wanna hate, but y'all can't kill my vibe. And I be feeling so good, just happy to be alive. Cause we stay in my own skin. I like who I am. The good vibes keep on pumping. Turn it up, that's my jam. I feel good. How you feeling? I feel good. So good. Comfortable in my own skin. I like who I am. The good vibes keep on pumping. Turn it up, that's my jam. I feel good. How you feeling? I feel good. So good. Thank you all. My name is James Garden. Love you.
Give it up for James Garden. Thank God for James Garden. And also All the Above, which is the local hip-hop academy that you participate in, benefiting young folks in all of the hip-hop culture. We love that. So, hey, Sean, man, one of the things I've missed most about COVID and pandemic is working out with you every week.
Yeah, that was refreshing. I mean, you know, you brought your regime, I brought my regime. We mixed it, you know, and it's really impacted me.
I thought it was something unexpected happened during that time because your biceps are like the size of my thighs. And
That's hilarious.
and you led many workouts, and then one day I walked in and you said to me, "No, you lead today."
Yeah.
And I led, and you had a hard time.
Yeah.
And you learned something about working out, that what you're used to, it gets easier.
Yeah.
And you just change it up a little bit, and it gets hard. So then we started going back and forth.
Yeah.
Our workouts.
I still
challenge each other.
use some of those exercises
Do you?
to this day. Yeah.
Now I've got a Chuck Norris, Christy Brinkley Total Gym at home.
Oh,
so
really? I didn't know they still made those.
I didn't either. Somebody gave it to me.
Oh, I'm joking. I'm so joking, everybody. It's the end of this. I'm so joking. Does it work though? Literally, does it work?
It's awesome.
What?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna be Chuck Norris. But, I mean, there's only one Chuck Norris.
Right.
Where have you been disciplined? Where have you lost discipline?
I've just totally lost discipline altogether. No, I'm joking. No, but I think diet is where I've lost.
All this comfort food.
Yeah.
Sitting at home.
Literally, and just trying to make myself feel a little better or
You're
whatever.
like, it's a pandemic. I deserve it.
I deserve to eat, right?
Yeah.
20 pounds later, you're like, I didn't deserve the 20 pounds.
Yep.
You know?
I lost that too because I participate in Weight Watchers, and you have to go in every month and weigh in, and losing that monthly weigh-in, you lose the accountability for it. So.
Yeah, so we started fasting, and we do it every year. We do 14 or 21 days. So we did 14 days this year, but in my prayer, the Lord, instructed me to continue. So I am, moving in another direction from a health standpoint. Focus.
Okay, so when you said you fast for 14 to 21 days, is that a food fast? I mean, you're obviously drinking liquid of some sort, or what is that?
Daniel, so we did a Daniel fast.
Daniel fast, yeah.
14
So,
days.
No sugar, no meat.
No, nothing unhealthy, obviously, no pop. Basically, anything green is good except green Jello, right? Because someone asked me that one time. Could they have green Jello? All your healthy.
Yeah.
No fried foods, obviously.
That sort of discipline sharpens your spirit, your mind.
Yep, and going through a Bible reading program, I want to make sure you got to add that in. Prayer and fasting, is all a part of it.
Yeah. Man, every time I'm looking at you, I see Tiffany over your shoulder, and she's leaning in. Like she's definitely got something.
Yeah, we've been together for a long time.
So discipline, not discipline?
The camera's on.
That's all right. There's power in the pause. So I was thinking, you guys. So
Power in the pause.
Yeah.
Preach it.
So where I've lost what? Let me start positive. Where I've been most disciplined, I probably is on my kids. Hey guys.
Woo.
But
That's tough.
Yeah.
And I think that's because they're in front of you every day, and they wake up like they got a job. They wake up at 7 or 7:30, which none of them have to be anywhere. So, and I think that's where I've least disciplined pre-COVID and before COVID. I'm not a morning person at all. I'm working on it, and my husband is probably like, "Yes, you're speaking truth." That I'm just gonna tell him my own self, so he don't say anything in the chat like he usually does. So yeah, that's where I'm
Carola's kids were up at 3 a.m. this morning.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. She's barely here
I'm
today.
gonna fake it till you make it mode.
She's barely here.
Yeah.
Does it count as discipline if it's like binge watching new shows?
As in least discipline?
No, most discipline.
I think that's
I'm on the third season
a
of
thumbs
Stranger
down.
Things.
Now everybody online was tuning in,
Yeah.
like what the pastor's gonna say. They was, please say yes, please say
That's
yes.
a double thumbs down.
Yeah.
Dang it.
I think that's a straight quote from Jesus somewhere in the Bible. It's in Leviticus somewhere.
Yeah.
Jesus said it.
Yeah.
It's in one of them Bibles like Nahum.
Oh man, I don't want this to end, but I think we've come to the close here next week.
Yeah.
We keep going. We're keep this series. You're not far. We're going into fortune teller. Can you tell the story of Jesus and Mark? What are you guys doing next week?
So we're continuing our series on frequency, and we've been asking the fundamental question: is Jesus' life a fairy tale, or did Jesus reveal a new normal for every believer? And so we've been inviting people to find the frequency of God through emulating Jesus' life.
Yeah. Your service is at what time?
10 a.m.
10
on
a.m.?
Sunday. Yep.
So see, people could go to that, and then they could come to this one at 11 o'clock.
It'll be like, a double flick, I guess you want to call it.
That's binge watching.
Yeah, there you go.
You get,
Except I have to come here and do stuff for here.
you can go to our Potterville campus at 9:30, and then at 10 o'clock jump over to Epicenter, and 11 o'clock jump here. There we go.
Sean, after I'm done working.
Rocking
See?
it. Okay, and then I think Church Elohim, Derek Knox does noon, so you can just jump over there at
Just
noon
keep
and
moving.
just keep
Binge
on
the
going.
whole Sunday.
Binge the whole Sunday morning worship
Yeah.
services. That's it. Jesus said do it.
It's in Leviticus 2.
Just do it.
Well, hey, we're so glad that you joined us. Thank you so much, Epicenter. Thank you, Sean. Give a shout out to Epicenter in the comments section, and we will
Thank
see
you for having us.
next week. Peace out. Be curious, be creative, be compassionate.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.